Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our December live. Waiting for some people to join us. Hi, Carlita. I see some people in the chat. Carlita, I'm about to let you in. All right, I see everyone coming in. Hello, hello. Happy Friday, everybody. Hey, Carlita.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
Good, good. Yes, I see some of our guests in the chat. Did you want to just join them in, or what do you want to do first?
Yeah, we can join in and then we'll do some introductions after.
Okay, okay. All right, let's do it.
Hey, everyone. I see a couple of people joining us. Tiara. Hey.
All right. As we are getting started, everyone, please go ahead and share this live. And because tonight, y'all, is about to be amazing. Y'all hear me? It's gonna be amazing tonight. We got our guests in the building right now. I'm excited. I am so excited.
We love that.
Yes, yes. So we're just going to jump right in, introduce ourselves, and we're going to allow our guest speakers to introduce themselves. Y'all, tonight, if you have not joined a live, this is the time to be here because, y'all, we got some school psychs who are working where the money resides. I'm telling y'all, the money
So
is,
true.
listen. And tonight, if you have pen and paper, y'all take some notes. They are going to be at our summit in April, so you guys really want to tune in to hear what they have to say. So just to jump in, I am Dr. Aileen Milford, and I am located in Houston, Texas right now. I am the Director of Marketing for BSPN, and I am doing my postdoc actually in private practice.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay.
So, hi, everyone. I'm Carlita Joseph. I am out of Brooklyn, New York. Yay. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for BSPN.
Welcome. Me jump in?
Yes.
All right, all right. Thank you, thank you. First, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be here. My name is Dr. Daylon Isom. I am currently sitting in Dallas, Texas,
Okay.
but I reside in the greater Boston area. I have graduated from Howard in 2017 with my doctorate in school psychology, and I've had a lot of different experiences up until this point, but I'm most excited about the transition to being an independent consultant and social entrepreneur. And I'm looking forward to sharing a bit about my experience and my trajectory here. So thank you for having me again.
All right, Dr. Dillon, thank you so much.
And I will introduce myself. My name is Cornell Grisby, Dr. Cornell Grisby. I am based in Georgia, in Fayetteville area, if anyone is familiar with Georgia. I have also had quite a journey coming through the school psych world into entrepreneurship and business ownership. So I am excited to have this conversation and teach as much as I can, learn as much as I can this evening with everybody. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right. Are you okay with us calling you Dr. G? I know that's your... Yes? Okay. All right. So y'all, tonight, how it's going to go, we have some questions already that were submitted that our guest speakers will be answering. But if you do have some questions, and if we have time at the end, we will get to those questions that are in the comment. But again, club chat, I want y'all to be lit tonight. Y'all are early. I want y'all to get it going tonight, because it's going to be exceptional. So we can get started with the first question.
Wait.
Oh,
We do that. We have to share the vision of BSPN and why everybody is here.
Yes, this
right?
is Carlita on my side, y'all, because I'm ready to in and learn.
Right? So the vision of the Black School Psychologists Network is to support, elevate, and advance the work of Black psychologists. Y'all, we are here for each other. We are here for you. Now, the BSPN is operating as a 501c3 organization, which means that we rely on public donations. So anything that you can donate, your ticket to the summit, though, that's helping us to create the space and the environment for all of us. So as much as you can, a $5 donation, a $10 donation, that goes towards our mission to help you, to help each other. So I just want to put that spiel out there. Okay, guys?
All right. Thank you, Carlita. All right. I see the club chat down there. Everybody's excited. I see everybody saying, let's go. So for the first question, share your story. How did you become a school psychologist? And Dr. Delon, you can go first.
Okay,
Yeah.
I could go first.
Yeah, so I stumbled upon school psychology by happenstance. I knew nothing about it. I had never heard of it. And shout out to Dr. Charles Barrett for his work with exposing people to school psychology overall. But I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. Growing up, I was the great debater. I was the one that was going to share my opinion and advocate for anybody who needed help. And got to undergrad and quickly realized in those courses that law is not for me. Didn't like the coursework, didn't like the foundations of it. And so I had a really great advisor at Texas A&M where I went for undergrad who helped me kind of go through some of my strengths and name some of my skills. And we decided to pivot towards counseling. So not a law counselor, but a counselor in a different way. And so after graduating from there, I applied to Howard to a master's program that was really like a combined program at the time where you got to get some clinical experience and you got to get some school counseling experience. And upon getting there and talking to some of the professors that were in school psych, I not only learned that I did have exposure to school psych as a child, being tested, but there was also something that I felt really pulled to go and to contribute. I just remember distinctly my mother, who was my first teacher, not having the language to be able to advocate for me when these people who didn't look like her and didn't understand her child were sitting across from her sharing results. And so that was a really defining core memory for me with school psychology, and it pulled me into the field in that way.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. That's awesome. That's actually one of the reasons I got into school psych too. I thought it was actually for my brother, and I saw, people across the table that didn't look like us, but then telling us what we needed to do. And it was just a fine moment. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Awesome. Dr. G?
So and first, thanks for sharing that story, because it's really important to hear how many similarities among Black individuals getting into the field. A lot of us are doing it either to advocate for our past selves or for someone that we know. And that's important. We need to share those stories. In my experience, I did experience a school psychologist in second grade when I got tested. I'm an immigrant, so I was born in the beautiful island of Dominica in the West Indies. When I got here, the whole language barrier was a thing. We speak English back home, but it's not the primary language. So navigating that as a young child was definitely an experience that I didn't want to see a lot of other kids go through. It was difficult. And being intelligent, but also having to navigate a new culture and all the things that come with assimilating. When I got tested in second grade, my entire educational trajectory changed. So being in the gifted program, the opportunities and things that I was exposed to, it made me, it kind of set me up to be where I am today. So I'm very grateful for it. But I also realized going through school that a lot of children had the potential, but it was untapped because of whatever reason, just fill in the blank. So I worked with a lot of mentoring programs, kind of throughout my life. When I got to college, that was something I really focused on. And in me trying to figure out what I wanted to do, majoring in psychology in undergrad, I got introduced to school psychology from my department chair, and kind of did a shadowing situation with an alum from my undergrad, and the rest is kind of history. So now I'm here. And I love the field. Although I'm super non-traditional, the work that we do, the position of power that we have as school psychs, the more that we know about what we can do and how we can impact children's lives, families' lives, I think we'll see a big shift in what that looks like moving forward, because we're having these conversations. So can't be, I say enough how thankful I am for this platform and for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I really relate with you, Dr. G, because my family's from Haiti, right? And I grew up with my aunt who didn't have the opportunity to go to school, or she didn't know how to read and write. And, back in the 90s, they didn't have on the bathroom signs as far as who can enter which bathroom. It was words, right? And my aunt did not know how to read. And I remember I was in the first or second grade, and she went into the wrong bathroom, and the little kids started crying or laughing and everything, saying, oh, that person went to the wrong bathroom. And I remember at that time I was crying so much. I was like, you're picking on my aunt, that's my mommy, right? And I felt like I couldn't defend myself. And I remember at one point that when I told her what was going on, because she was like, why are you crying? And I told her, and I remember she said, you have the opportunity to go to school. You have the opportunities that I don't. Now you make a difference. And it's so funny how full circle I ended up becoming a school psych, because I thought I was going to be a pediatrician, but just at the sight of blood, I will pass out, y'all. So, you know, but it's so interesting how our stories actually make us who we are today.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for answering that question.
I agree.
I love that.
So the next question is, as Dr. G and, you know, many of us are in the non-traditional setting right now, as school psychologists in non-traditional settings, what does a typical or not so typical day look like for you? And Dr. G, you can start with this one.
That question is answered by the minute. I often tell people when they ask me what I do, I'm like, it just depends on where I'm at and what's going on. So my primary role, I would say, and I own my own business. I own an education consulting company. We started off in 2018 doing tutoring for children who had IEPs, where they were going to the Kumons and Mathnasiums, the Sylvan Learning Centers, and it just wasn't working for them. So I'm like, you know, bring your IEPs, bring your psych reports. I can look over them. We can tailor tutoring here. And that's how we started. We kind of integrated that into what we call life enrichment therapy. And so it's a mix of life coaching and therapy for families who need to be integrating therapy into their life. So it's not just like drop the kid off, fix the kid, send them back to this dysfunctional environment, but it's like bringing the families in, bringing the siblings in, whatever we can to make sure that we're actually making a difference and we're not just taking people's money, because that's important, right? So start off with the tutoring, and now we do what we call family support services and really case management. So I do work with the government. We work with agencies who have government contracts to support individuals who have a disability. And because of that, a lot of my clients have aged out. So if anybody on here is in the schools and you work in high schools and you know about the aged out population, they're getting towards the 21, 22-year-olds who have had a special ed experience for the last 18 years of their life. They've had a parapro, some of them like 24/7, well, while they're in school. And now they're going to be home, and mom and dad, grandma, whoever is about to be OT, speech, all those things. So what we do now primarily is we navigate the next chapter of their life with them. That's everything from teaching them how to cook and clean, how to pee in the toilet. Like we literally have clients who are 19 and 20 that we're teaching them that. Some of our clients are independent, and we're teaching them how to drive, how to find jobs. You know, they want to move, things like that. We're teaching them how to advocate for their bills to be lower. Some of them we're taking them out just to walk and exercise. So it really just depends. So I have a staff of individuals who work with me to service our clients, and I'm kind of like the logistics board behind the scenes. So we get new clients, I'm talking to them, I'm setting up who needs to work with them, who would be a good fit based on who's on my team. And also like constantly in the community meeting new partnerships so that we can have experiences for the clients that we serve. So that's just one piece of what I do. I do a bunch of other stuff, but I think what's most relevant to school psych and where I tie in the skills that I've learned in graduate school with kind of like my natural abilities and passions is that work. And for what I do, I think that school psych is a great fit for it, but a lot of us don't even know that those two worlds exist and they can kind of come together. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions about that for anyone who wants to follow up with me. But I would say it really just depends. Like there's a consistency to what I do, but then it's super not consistent at the same time. But I love it because I get bored easy. So, you know, wow. It just depends.
I love that, Dr. G. I love that, bringing those two worlds together. That's amazing. And I think we need more of that. We need more of you across the country and doing that work. I love that.
Yes, y'all, please help me. We have so many people can't help. So I'm like, that's why I like to talk about it, because I'm like, I'm not telling you to brag. I'm telling you because I need you to do it too. Like we need help. We have clients on a wait list that I just don't have the staff to see. So again, any follow-up questions, I got y'all, but I'm done.
Okay. No, that's beautiful. To show that skill as being a school psych, you have to be flexible, not just in the schools, but every setting, right? So this is awesome. This is so dope, y'all. Yeah. Dr. Delon, take us home with this question.
Dr. G, I mean, she pretty much said exactly what I was saying. Every day literally is a different day, a different process. Some of the things that I think are consistent is there's still meetings. I think about some of the times where I'm working on a contract with either securing a contract for my company or working on a contract in partnership with another company. We're often meeting about what our proposal is going to look like. We're often meeting about what our deliverables are going to be. There are days when I do merchandise, so sell crew necks that have a good cause to help people gain access to services and also educational resources. And so I do the designs, I do the product development, I look for all of the textiles and all of the materials. And so some days it's just me doing that. There are days when I may be contracted to do a speaking engagement. I do speak a lot on just well-being overall as it relates to how we show up in our work in organizations, and also DE&I. And so there may be discovery calls. So I think to echo what Dr. G said, there's just a myriad of different things to be involved in and things that come up, and no day is the same. And then, to be quite frank, there's some days when I just rest because I'm tired, and everybody was pulling different ways, and everybody had deliverables that they needed that week. And so being an entrepreneur and being in control of your own schedule allows you to really pour into yourself in those ways that I didn't necessarily have as frequently in the more traditional working environment. And so, yeah, I agree. Day to day.
That is awesome. And I love how you said some days you just rest, because I'm big on self-care. People catch me taking a nap on my couch. Like, give me a nap.
That part.
And yeah, but it's so important. This is so beautiful because we're always taught that school psychs, it's needed in the schools, but we have the skills to be in so many different settings. And as tonight, you guys are sharing what you do, and it's always different every day. And I love that. We see this in the comments, we have some parents watching as well. So shout out to the parents who are in the chat. That is beautiful. All right. Carlita, do you want to take the next question?
Sure. So I want you guys to now take us on that journey, or the brief journey, from the shift of being within the schools to where you are right now, if you actually were in the schools. How did you make that transition?
I guess I can pop it off since Dr. G did the last one. That's a great question too. So I talked about my pivot to school psych after going into the master's program, and within maybe a year and a half, I had went back to my advisors, two other Black school psychologists, Dr. Celeste Malone, Dr. Gregory Reed, and told them flat out, I can't do this test label, please. I don't like being relegated to just an evaluator, and I love assessment. That's actually one of my research areas, but it just felt very constricted. It felt very restricting. And so I convinced them that I had learned enough about school psychology, and asked if I could start to look at other areas. At the time, my practicum supervisor, another Black school psychologist, Dr. Jackie Gordon in PG County, who's amazing, she gave me some advice, and she said, one thing that I would change about my process is I wouldn't get so siloed into school psych. She said, I don't want you to, she said, it's a great niche to have, but once you learn it, while you're in your program, use this time to go out and learn about other ways that you can contribute. And so I started working in an educational consulting agency for my practicum from there. And then I pivoted to the DC Superior Courts for an externship where I did forensic assessment and learned all about how court cases and adjudicated minors get assessed and evaluated. And then also got some clinical training where I was able to do therapy, one-to-one therapy, talk therapy. And so that kind of piqued the interest, and I did my internship from there, again, in juvenile probation in San Antonio. And so I think all along the way, I was kind of slowly but surely stepping away from a traditional school psych role, but still held very true to the foundations of advocating and coaching parents, helping with youth who are marginalized, are historically left out, and also just finding ways to assess. And so that, after climbing the ladder, kind of transferred to, okay, I think I want to do this for organizations now. I think I want to do this in different ways. And so a couple of mentors later, a couple of blessings later, I've kind of made the pivot fully out of traditional school psych, but still very much participate in all of the governing body and associations kind of practices, still very much help parents in my own agency. And yeah, that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at now. Long story short.
Wow, that's wonderful. I really appreciate the fact that you got to do different things within your practice. You have different exposure, because when I was in school, there was just, no, you're going to the schools. That's where you're going to do your. And so even knowing that you can do your placements other places or get that experience is a great, knowledge to have. And I feel like we'll pull in more people within the profession if they knew about these different things that we can do. So that's really awesome to hear. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll just add, it took some convincing, because my professors were not going. They were not going in the beginning. So I had to work extra hard. But also what I think a lot of people in school psychology don't realize is that there are a lot of settings out there that actually are open to school psychology students. And so I know in Howard, we benefited from a large consortium. I had some of my colleagues go work at Children's National to do, I'm blanking on what type of testing they did, but it was neurological testing. There are like juvenile probation settings. There are other types of alternative schools. And so I think just being open to doing that research and reaching out to the people who are at the sites if you're interested and seeing if you can come there is a big step and something that people should explore.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Yes.
Before Dr. G answers this question, we did have a question in a comment that said, I know this is small, but do you guys miss the breaks? The school breaks.
The school breaks.
That's huge. That's huge. I miss summer. And I was in higher ed, so I miss like spring break and Christmas break. Because then when you work in college, they get, you get days and days. So yes, definitely miss those breaks.
I don't think so, honestly. But I work all the time, but I love what I do so much that I think I would much prefer to work as much as I do for what I love to do, the way that I do now. So, but I'll take a nap too if I can. I'm not a big napper, but I think you got to work it in regardless, because some people have breaks and they're so burnt out they don't even do anything with the breaks because they needed it. So
yeah.
Okay.
So Dr. G, you tell us how did you make that shift?
So I learned probably the second month into practicum that I was not going to work in the schools. I was very adamant about that. And being that I went straight from undergrad into a doctoral program, the options were, are you going to be an academic, or are you going to go out in private practice, or are you going to work in the schools? Well, the schools really weren't an option for the PhD students as much. They were really pushing academia, research, or private practice to an extent. And I didn't want any of those options either. So it was something that I would often get asked, like, what was my plan? And I would tell people, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to have to create it. And I was saying that since 2012. And I had no idea even now, what I do is not like something you go, drop down on Indeed and pick it. It's really like a very customized role that I've created for myself with the skills that I've learned, and just like my passions, all that merging together. So when I realized I didn't like the schools, it actually happened in assessment class. I was just like, we can't be back to the test in place. It doesn't make sense. We're using tests on kids that weren't in the norming sample. So now we're telling them about their lives and setting them up for failure with things that aren't even relevant. And it was a lot of, just moral injustice that I felt within myself, where I was just like, this is not a good fit. I wanted to do something else, but being an immigrant, being first gen, being the first in my family to get any kind of degree, there was no way I was going to tell my mom, my West Indian mother, that I'm going to change my mind, after I got into a doctoral program. She would have been like, absolutely not. So I was kind of destined to make it work. There was some aspects of my journey where I did have other experiences in private practice. I thought that I was going into my doctoral program to work in private practice. So I started doing it before I graduated. I would advise, like you were saying, everybody just get out there and try the thing, right? More than you did yesterday. Use those skills to see how it fits, because you don't want to spend 6-7 years getting a doctoral degree or getting an EDS degree in 3 years to hate it, because you haven't really tested it out. And also you want to give yourself options. I'm really big on options for myself. So I did private practice. I realized that I like the freedom of it to an extent, but there's still aspects of it that I didn't really enjoy, like the monotony of having to do the same thing over and over again. So as I was kind of navigating the schools, getting my practicum experience, getting my advanced prac, so I did a pre-doctoral internship. I went to 3 different school systems before I finished my PhD, just because of the nature of how Georgia State does their programming. I went to Georgia State. I didn't even say that earlier. Georgia State University. So by the time I finished, I was like, this is all the school I'm going to need for like ever, because I just don't like having a boss. I don't like someone telling me when to clock in and like asking me why I'm late, things like that. It's like, what are we doing? But there's a lot of responsibility when you have time. Like, you have to be disciplined with that. So I wanted to put myself in positions where I could be more in control of my time, but feel like it was productive. And being in private practice, I learned a lot about just kind of like building and scaling a business, which it's interesting that they would push private practice for PhD students, but they teach you nothing about business.
Nothing.
Nothing about running a business. Nothing about scaling a business. Those are all three different things. Starting, running, and scaling. Three different things. And you just got practical experience, like technical skills, right? So when I was in private practice, I worked under a licensed psychologist, a Black woman, and that was in my area. Found the job on Indeed. Mind you, let me tell you real quick. I applied for this job because I was sitting in the bed at like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, I don't want to stay in the schools another year. This was during my pre-doctoral internship. I was like, I don't want to go back. And I knew it was a safe option. Like they were going to offer me a job. There's a shortage. But I wanted to do something different. I saw that there was a need for, she had posted a job for a licensed psychologist. I'm not licensed to this day at my license, but I applied for it anyways. She called me 2 days later. And that literally is how I started my business. Like that was like the spark to getting to where Reach is now. So I would say bet on yourself, try new things, do it scared, but do it anyways. And people will guide you. You know, God will send you the people you need along the journey if you allow yourself to push yourself in that way. And then at that point, I kind of learned about private practice, realized I didn't really love private practice, but I loved having a business, if that made sense, and seeing it in that way. And I just kind of tailored it to be something that I could be proud of. And at this point, I can say that I'm happy where I'm at, but I'm constantly pushing, constantly trying to do new things. Because there's so much that we can do. We have so many skills that we learn as school psychologists. And so I want to use as much of them as I can.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. I love how you shared, like, you know, bet on yourself. Because I knew early on, during internship, I knew that I was going to be that non-traditional school psych. Because I'm in private practice right now for my postdoc. So I'm studying to take the EPPP, that brutal exam. But I'm seeing how, like, I get to do more than just, you know, the assessments. I'm doing therapy now. The private practice that I work at has a contract with some of the group homes. So I go to the group homes and assess for kids who are in foster care. So there's so many different dynamics. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand how blessed as school psychs we are, because we have an assessment piece, we work with children, and then if you can work with children, you can work with adults, right?
Hello.
We have that wide range of skills that we have, that if we just, like you said, you guys work with the government, you make your own schedule, you have your business, but that piece about being an entrepreneur is where we weren't taught in schools, right? And it's like, how do you, and I guess that's where our next question goes, and some tips too. So when we get to that question, you let us know how we get started if we want to be entrepreneurs. You know, I want to make money like y'all, because you know.
I wanted to make money. It goes both ways.
That part.
Yeah. Before we go to that question, but someone just put a question. Krista just put a question in the chat. With all of the skills and roles, how do you stay grounded?
Yes.
For me, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
You got it. No, you got it. All right.
Well,
Look, we can't. I'm gonna point to you. It's on you, Dr. G. You got it.
Okay, I'll be quick. I'm grounded, just humble beginnings. I grew up with absolutely nothing, like third world country at its finest. And remember being really happy with nothing, with little, compared to what, you know, the American standard of living is. And when I see families now, even with the success that I've achieved in life, who they just need the simplest of help, and it makes the biggest difference for them. Like, I strive to have those experiences. I'm very family oriented, still very much connected to my culture, and I don't want to forget where I came from. I want to see the growth. I want to build the generational wealth, break the generational curses, but I'm always going to be the same person. So it's just critical. And I do this work because I needed someone like me when I was younger. Yeah. So I be that person.
Yeah. Agree wholeheartedly. I think the family piece is definitely big for me. That resonates. I think other ways that I stay grounded are, first and foremost, setting boundaries. Part of my self-care is setting boundaries and holding those boundaries, and being okay with telling people no or not right now, or saying that I need help, saying that I don't need help, whatever the case may be, just advocating and using my voice, and not assuming that people can read my mind or they know what I'm going through. I think other ways, especially on this journey as an entrepreneur, you have to be a lifelong learner. And you have to, that helps kind of ground you, because you just become familiar with other tricks, other trade, and other tools that people give to you. You get mentors who kind of help you. And so I think those are ways that you can stay contained and not get too far out and not become too overwhelmed with all the possibilities, because there are a lot of possibilities out there. And finally, I'll say, for me, my cohort, we're affectionately known as the family from HU class 2017 in our doctoral program. We really formed a bond, and so we rely on each other a lot. We bounce ideas off of each other. We talk about personal, professional, everything that is affecting us. And even when we're not feeling our best, or we feel like we don't belong in the places and the rooms that we're in, we really edify and build each other up, and I think that that's helpful.
Wow, I love it. I love it. I really like when you said just saying no. I think that's a skill in of itself we all have to learn. I know I had to learn the hard way my first year, but again, saying no and just, being true to myself, that helped me out a lot. So I do appreciate both of those answers, because yeah, you guys are dropping gems,
Yeah, dropping gems.
All right. The next question we have, so what tips can you give? Well, some of those tips you already gave, but what tips can you give a school psychologist who wants to get into consulting, becoming an entrepreneur? Where would they start?
I'm trying to think back to the experience. Sometimes stuff just happens. It just happens. Like you're in the right place at the right time, and someone asks you to partner on something, and then you get those skills and you learn and you reflect. I think something that I had to unlearn as a psychologist was that I can't talk about myself as an entrepreneur. That's all you're doing when you want to think about getting contracts, or you want to prove that you have a skill that someone needs or a service that someone needs. You really have to get used to talking about yourself. So I think that's a step that I had to learn how to reconcile, because not only are we trained as psychologists about self-disclosure and not to do that, but also coming up in a Black family, a Black religious family.
Yeah.
It's everybody else before you. And so you start to internalize, like, I'm not talking about myself. I'm not even going out to network. I'm not mixy. We stay with our people. We stay with our group. And that's what we do. As an entrepreneur, that is not going to work for you. I can say wholeheartedly, like, you have to be comfortable with talking about yourself, pitching yourself, talking to people that you don't know, starting random conversations. And so I think those are things that I think are the first, the foundational pieces of pivoting to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
I would add to that, because I think all those points are really important, especially when it comes to pushing yourself to meet new people and doing things outside of your comfort zone. One thing that I often say, I have an internship with my business, and I tell my interns they're high school students who want to learn how to do what I'm doing, working in the community with individuals who have disabilities. And so I tell them all the time, you can't be the smartest person in the room. And one thing about school psychology is when you work in a school building, right, and you're trying to make that pivot, we're seen as an expert in the school. So we kind of get the big head. I have seen this with school psychs I've encountered, where you think that you know more than you really know, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're being put on this pedestal of the person with all the answers, the go-to person for this, that, and the third. And that's great in the schools. But when you want to go into business, you have to have a humbling spirit to kind of be good with knowing that you're not going to know everything. You should want people to teach you and learn from you. And when you meet people who have, maybe you need money, right? They have money, but they need your knowledge and your expertise. You're both equally yoked in that regard, where you need each other. Like there's a parallel of you're both gonna it's called, like, what's the word? The phrasing that a mutually reciprocated experience for both people are getting something out of it. I can't think of the word. My immigrant side is kicking in. Yeah. But essentially it's one of those, like, I have something that you need, you have something that I need. And a lot of times I think we are not necessarily intentionally, but there's this mindset that, oh, you're the school psychologist, or oh, you're a psychologist. It's like a class thing, like a societal thing where they just like esteem you in such a way. You get into entrepreneurship, no one really cares. If you aren't making money, you're not doing well. You know what I'm saying? Right. When you work in schools, you can go there, and we know this, right? There's a lot of autonomy with our role. So you can go to the schools, and if you have a kid that you need to test, you could do nothing up until the day before that kid's meeting and get it all done. That don't work with in business. Like, you kind of always got to be on the grind with making sure that you're getting to those goals. And part of that is being okay with knowing that you need to learn and grow as a person. And that's all part of the process. But I think, like what was previously said, there's a need to make sure that you're being in the right place and you're saying yes to the right things and no to the right things too. And with, I think, maturity, with life, with time, you figure out, like, what opportunities are really for me, because you don't want to take something that you can't do, but you don't want to shortchange yourself from growing in an area that you wouldn't if you did not take that opportunity. So that's where a mentor comes in. I think that everyone should be mentored and be a mentor. It holds you accountable to be a better version of yourself. It also pushes you to be a better version of yourself because you're going to grow in that regard. Yeah. So if nothing else, have a lifelong mentor. I have a mentor for business. I have a mentor for my personal life. In addition to my own therapist, like there's a lot of areas of myself that I have to feed into, and that helps me be a good entrepreneur too. But if anyone is trying to start, I'm thinking of like when I was in the schools trying to get out, whatever you love doing in the school psych role, you can make that marketable. You can make that profitable as a business. So in my case, consulting with teachers and parents was my favorite part. I do not like testing. So to hear you say you like testing,
love it.
Oh my gosh, that's a struggle. And even now, I see the value in testing. I just like we do too many unnecessary evaluations, and that's a whole nother TED talk. But I love the consultation piece, so I just turned that into a business. And I would tell, I remember when I was sitting in my end of the year review, when I was in my predoctoral year, and they were asking me kind of, like what are some thoughts I had about my experience. And I was like, I want to get paid to talk to people. I don't want to get paid to have to test. I don't want to have to get paid to put kids in special ed. So I just made a business where I get paid to talk to people, and I love it. So there's a lot of work that comes with it, but I would say for anyone, like I said, figure out what you like to do, charge a little bit of money for it and test it out, especially if it's something to do with kids and education. If you're working in the schools, you already have your audience. You already have clients, right? So figure out who in your building you need to talk to, whether that's the PTO president, whether that's your admin, whether it's the grade level chairs, and see how you can turn that into something profitable. The few times you get someone to pay for that school, it'll give you the momentum to keep going. But, you just kind of got to start too. Because a lot of people sit on great ideas and wait. And then there's COVID. And then we wait. And you just kind of have to tell yourself, I'm just going to do it now. So if you need help getting pushed to do it now, message me because I'm good for that.
And can I just add really quickly, because Dr. G said a lot of great things. But what I heard too is that there's a lot of transferable skills that we have as school psychologists that we can use in our entrepreneurial efforts, right? So as psychologists, whether you're in the school or a clinical setting, we are incredible question. We ask incredible questions. And so being able to go into different entities or present your business as having that skill, like I'm going to make sure I diagnose a problem. I'm going to make sure I get to the bottom of a situation. I'm going to make sure we do a root cause analysis. Those are transferable skills that you can use in your journey to becoming an entrepreneur and saying this is what you can do. When you talk about the assessment piece, I like it because I'm able to simplify complex psychological concepts down to just simple behaviors and how this person needs to be helped. And so being able to offer that to businesses in today's day and age is like incredible for some people. They're searching for that. And so to Dr. G's point, where she talks about tapping into what you love, there's definitely a lane for that in the business world. Whether you want to do traditional school psych work or non-traditional school psych work, you just have to become that lifelong learner, and you have to find out the language and how it's used in the other spaces. But we have, as school psychs, a lot of transferable skills that we don't even think about. I mean, I know school psychs that are working for companies doing like user experience and looking at research for how to develop products. Like, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you can talk about the skills that you have and you're good at it.
Wow, I am so inspired, y'all. Like, you can tell that you guys love what y'all do just by how you guys are talking and just like giving us, oh my God, I'm so inspired, y'all. Thank you for this. We do have a question that kind of aligns with what you guys were just talking about, where Chris asked, where does a majority of your business come from? Referral, cold calls, past clients?
All of the above. LinkedIn, websites, friends, looking for proposals, all of the above.
The majority of mine in the beginning was word of mouth, especially with the tutoring. When someone finds out that their child who struggles with school like their whole life can learn and love math or reading or whatever subject that they need help with, because someone who is trained to understand how that child learns can apply that to tutoring, like they're coming. And typically parents who have kids who struggle academically have friends with children who struggle academically. It's kind of like, that's how it's packaged. So that was how our business started. And then it just kind of progressed, and now we have the government contract. So, I mean, you can't ever have enough staff and space for how many people have SSI and who have a disability and they're getting funding from the government, but there's not enough providers. So I'm going to say it again. I need help, y'all. Like, I need
Yeah.
people to do what I'm doing. It is,
Alright.
for one, there's so much money in it, right? And being a person of color in this field, sometimes the biggest success we get is to just get the degree, right? But now we're carrying the debt for the rest of our lives, and we don't have to kind of transition from that generational path of always having to start from the same place. Every time that we have kids, it's the same thing with them. And so I'm really passionate about that. And so I want to, because of the way that funding is set up, you know, there's laws for individuals with disabilities to be protected. That means there's money behind it. And a lot of us are not getting the money. We're getting the services, right? Our children are the ones that are receiving diagnoses and getting government funding, but we don't have any service providers that often look like us. So whenever there's an issue, like when the government doesn't want to pay on time, and I tell my clients, hey, we can't come because they didn't pay, they will rally, okay? Because they don't want to see someone else that doesn't look like them coming into their homes and supporting them with the services that we offer. So I just need so many of you guys to just reach out to me so I can help y'all get started.
I love it. I love it.
We need help.
She said, you people are asking.
I'm
She's calling right now.
I love
y'all DM tonight, like,
right?
mentees, you know. But no, this is beautiful. We do have some questions in the comments. We'll circle back if we do have time, because we are almost at that mark, and y'all IG will shut you off. Very disrespectful. So we want to make sure that we answer the questions that were already submitted. So Carly, you want to take the next question, or you want me to do it?
Yes. So guys, without telling us too much information, we just want you to share a little bit about your topic for the presentation at the summit.
I think this is a good introduction to kind of some of the things that I'll be talking about in my talk. I'm going to focus on the transition to becoming an entrepreneur and doing non-traditional school psych work. I also am going to introduce to some and maybe expose or reintroduce to others the idea around social entrepreneurship and looking for ways to make a social impact. So I think most of the people that I interact with got into school psychology and into entrepreneurship because they wanted to create access, they wanted to give back, they wanted to help people who don't necessarily get that help. And so I'll be covering what that looks like as an entrepreneur and all of the resources out there that people are taking advantage of. And when I say people that are not in our communities, because we don't know enough about those resources and don't have enough people who have access to them to coach us in how to get them. And so I'll be sharing a little bit about that in my talk.
Okay.
I want to, and we'll plan to focus on how we can transition our skills outside of the schools, especially when it comes to community mental and medical help and support. So for anyone who is kind of maybe wanting to make a transition and you want to see how you can develop a business where you're integrating into government contracts and you're also working within a community setting, that'll be the focus. So transferring those skills and figuring out how to make almost like niching yourself, but within a very varied and diverse field in and of itself.
Nice. Very nice.
So y'all, if y'all have not registered yet, BSPNinc.com. Please, y'all have to be at this conference April 27th to 28th in Atlanta, so y'all can sit in these sessions. They are dropping gems tonight, but they didn't give all of it. So you want to be at that conference in April, y'all.
Absolutely.
This is beautiful.
Get your tickets. You could go, like Aileen dropped the website. It's www.bspninc.com. You get your hotel registration, everything on the website. Everything is there. So make sure. We have one more question, right? What is the one thing that you're looking forward to and or are excited about for the summit?
Just seeing so many Blacks and brown school psychs in one place. Like every time I go to NASS, I'm looking. I'm like, where's the chocolate? You know?
Yeah.
NASS was huge. But to have it concentrated, I so desperately wished for something like this when I started my program. I know how rare working in the schools, often being the only person of color, it is to see someone that looks like me doing what I do. So for us to be all together and have so many backgrounds and experiences to share, like it's gonna be so dope. I am ready. So I'm really excited.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. We do have this question that has been sitting. If we can, this is for Dr. Delon. This user or this person in the audience said, can you speak about how being a Black male has impacted your experience as a school psychologist?
Yeah, that's how much time we got?
You got 3 minutes.
So, so I think there is an experience that comes with just being a Black male and existing in and of itself, right? And I can't put down my acquired identities when I walk into these spaces. They're not invisible. People see them. And there has been a constant negotiation and navigation of being in those spaces and not only advocating for people that look like me and people that don't have advocates that look like me, but what does that look like in the context of interacting in a predominantly woman, a field that's predominantly woman. I don't know how to say that the way that I want to say it, but y'all get what I'm saying. Women, yeah. But just like understanding interpersonal dynamics and how that works, understanding how you're going to be perceived as a Black male who is pushing against or speaking up for. That's definitely been something that's been impactful. I think also the bright side of that is being able to have little Black and brown boys see somebody that's a doctor, look like them, see somebody who can speak to their twice exceptionality, like being gifted and being neurodiverse, and being able to share that with people goes a long way. And so I think it has its ups and its downs, certainly more pros than cons, but I think it definitely is something that I'm always mindful of and I'm always having to check in. And I found that that's the best thing for me to do, not assume, not try to read people's minds. Like Dr. G was saying earlier, not trying to be the person that knows everything all the time, but being humble enough to say, this is challenging for me, or how do I approach these experiences? And I've had some great mentors and some great powwows among colleagues that have helped in that regard. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. And that's excellent. One thing I can say, the theme between both of you, you did talk about mentors, like mentorship in every aspect, in every role, in every part of your life. And I think that is so important for everyone to understand. Oh, get yourself a mentor for everything, like every part of your life.
Yes, definitely. Y'all, this was beautiful. I want to stay on. I wish we could stay on longer because y'all is dropping gems tonight.
Cool.
I'm already excited for the summit. I don't know about everyone in the audience, but I'm excited because y'all, listen, y'all is doing it. I'm so proud of y'all. Carly, you gonna take us home because I'm still in awe right now. I'm in awe.
All right, everyone. I do thank both of our speakers for joining us today for our BSPN Live Meet the Speakers. Again, everyone, please go and get your summit tickets, your hotels, your flight. Delta is giving discounted flights for everyone, so please do that. www.bspninc.com. And don't forget to also donate because we are running on public donations here. I thank everyone for joining us tonight, and we will see you soon.
Before we leave though, our guests, please tell us where everyone can stay connected with y'all.
So you can start for me with the Instagram page. Get Free with Dr. D is my business page. Also, my email is drdletsgetfreellc.com. And obviously the website would be letsgetfreellc.com. So please tap in, subscribe, whatever they say for YouTube videos. Join up, link. We'd love to hear from everybody. Definitely love, and we're partnering with people and giving back. And so even if you have questions, I'm always open to answer and collaborate. So those are my areas.
My Instagram is being_Dr. G. So that's like probably the quickest way to get to me. My email is drg@beingdrg.com. You can also go on the website, reachakg.org. So one, you can see all the awesome things that we do and see pictures of our clients, but also to get an idea of what that looks like. If you're interested and you want any support with that, just echoing the thought that I am so excited to give back, so excited to connect. So y'all just reach out and let me know.
Thank you. This was amazing. We're seeing some positive feedback in the comments. Everyone is excited and love all the gems you guys shared. We thank you for joining us, y'all. Until next time. See y'all soon and be safe.
Be awesome.
Thank you. See
Bye.
y'all. Be well.